The reverse bear trap is a fandom favorite. Most first-time fans first encounter it in Saw from 2004.
I want to hear it from you in your words from the beginning.
In today's video, we're going to go over some of the most memorable traps which earned the franchise its place in the Horror Hall of Fame. These elaborate and deadly traps serve as instruments which force characters into making dire choices, exploring moral and ethical dilemmas such as the value of life, the nature of justice and punishment, and so much more. The traps are going to be ranked from the easiest to escape to the impossible. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Number 1, reverse bear trap. The reverse bear trap is a fandom favorite. Most first-time fans first encounter it in Saw from 2004, strapped to the head of our heroine Amanda Young, who surpasses our shock at witnessing the trap by actually surviving it. But real OGs fans know that its first test subject was David, played by Lee Wannell himself, who showed us how the trap worked. Now, a bear trap is relatively simple. There's a powerful spring-loaded mechanism which, when stepped on, closes a pair of jaws around the limb. The reverse bear trap works the opposite. Instead of trapping you in place, it rips your face apart. Sexy. In the movies, we see it collapsed around the victim's head and secured with a padlock. It's hooked into the victim's upper and lower jaws. A 60-second timer is activated, whether by Jigsaw himself or by the victims themselves. When the timer hits 0, the jaw springs open, and the key to escaping that trap is either within the victim's own flesh or in the body of some other unfortunate victim conveniently lying nearby. Escaping from this trap depends on 3 key factors: speed, willingness to cut flesh open to get to it, and a high pain tolerance. When the trap was used by both David and Amanda, the key had been hidden in the stomachs of their cellmate. Although Jigsaw states the cellmates are dead, spoiler alert, they're not. Please. Both David and Amanda, frenzied as they are in this high-octane situation with a steadily ticking timer, managed to override their panic and squeamishness to escape the trap. I mean, David was merely a demonstrator, so he had to live to tell the harrowing tale, and Amanda, as we later learn, was meant to survive, considering the pivotal role she goes on to play in the movies. The only victim this trap actually claims is Jill Tuck, only because a vengeful Hoffman had rigged it to fail, resulting in her gruesome demise. So while the reverse bear trap looked gruesome, its method of escape is pretty straightforward and simple. Find the key under the time limit, unlock it, and get out. I think compared to some of Jigsaw's later creations, it offers a simple but brutal path to freedom. Verdict? Easy, if you don't mind playing anatomics on unwilling participants. Number 2, the needle pit. Every time I watch the needle trap scene, I get a little irritated, because once you get past the visceral disgust of a terrified Amanda being thrown into the pit filled with thousands of used syringes, you realize that if not for Xavier's sheer stupidity, they could have easily gotten past this. Throughout the franchise, there are moments that make you wish you were there in the movie because you can totally do it better. The needle pit trap being for Xavier is poetic to say the least, as if Xavier yeeting Amanda into the mountain of used syringes in a trap that was meant for him was not bad enough. The fact that Shawnee Smith was expecting at the time they shot this film adds to it, although it was the actress's own decision not to divulge the secrets to the crew until she had shot this particular scene, according to the Daily Titan article. What makes me even angrier when watching this scene is that despite the fact Amanda manages to find the key with seconds to spare, Xavier drops it, thus costing him precious seconds and resulting in the door closing. The thing is, the needle pit trap, it's not designed to kill, unless you have a deathly phobia of needles. Sure, there is always the risk of contracting bloodborne pathogens and whatever the fuck's been growing on them since they were thrown into the pit, but that's something to worry for later, as they had to survive the nerve gas house first. It's designed to inflict maximum suffering in the process of escape. Since the trap was meant for Xavier, he should have gone into the pit. He already had boots and pants on, and he could have covered his arms with the mottled blankets on the bed or the torn curtain. If not him, then Daniel definitely could have gone in on account of being adequately covered from head to toe. Then they would have to conduct the quickest sweep and search for their lives to be able to locate the key, open the door, and get to the antidote. Verdict: escapable if you are nimble both in mind and body. That is not Xavier. Number 3, the glass coffin. The glass coffin was first introduced in Saw 5 and was believed to be designed with Jigsaw and Hoffman together. The difference between Kramer and Hoffman's jigsaws is the way they go about the entire affair. John's traps do ultimately ensure survival, but at some heavy cost and some moral character development along the way. Whereas Hoffman seems to be focused on maximum pain with little regard for whether the victims get out or not, which is further evidenced by his high kill count. The glass coffin is, as the name suggests, a glass coffin in a walled room where 2 of the walls are movable. The person inside the coffin eventually gets lowered into a hole hidden in the floor, while the person outside the coffin eventually gets crushed to death as the walls close down on them. The star victim of this trap is our very own Peter Strahm. Strahm and Hoffman are constantly locked in a tense cat and mouse game where the latter is constantly trying to frame the former while concealing himself. The glass coffin is a stark reminder of how much Hoffman is slowly deviating from his predecessor's legacy. Kramer's intent behind the Jigsaw games was to ensure rehabilitation, whereas Hoffman uses them to fulfill his own personal and vengeful agendas, as shown by his involvement in Jill Tuck's death and from what happens to Strahm later on. I could argue that escaping the glass coffin trap would be easier than the angel trap or the rack, which we will be discussing in the video, so stick around. But I can only make this argument based on the instructions on the tape. Strahm should have gotten into the coffin despite his inherent mistrust of Hoffman. The pipes attached to the coffin, they initially looked like they would release some deadly gas the second you got in, but seeing how they disconnect as Hoffman is lowered, I'm pretty sure they were there just as a visual deterrent, or to fuck with Strahm's mind, which Hoffman loves doing. But Hoffman knew that Strahm would get in the coffin, which led to his gruesome demise. Local man gets hydraulic pressed into canned meat.
If you're good at anticipating the human mind, it leaves nothing to chance.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Hoffman never meant for Strahm to survive. Even if Strahm had escaped death by crushing, Hoffman would have killed him in any way to maintain his cover. You, however, might be spared on account of you not being a profiler hell-bent on catching him out.
However, if you choose not to, you will never be heard from again. Your body will never be found. You will simply vanish.
Verdict? Escapable if you don't have beef with Hoffman. Number 4, the angel trap. Next up, we have the angel trap, and unlike its misleading name, there is nothing angelic about this dastardly contraption. In this trap, the victim is suspended just above the floor, held by a leather harness secured with a padlock. Attached to their back is a heavy metal device with 2 mechanical arms that resemble folded wings, which gives it its name. Okay, but what makes this trap particularly gruesome are the 12 C-shaped metal brackets clamped tightly around the victim's chest, 6 on each side. The brackets are hooked directly into the ribcage and connected by wires to the device on their back. To escape, the test subject has to retrieve the key for the harness's padlock. But the catch? The key is submerged in an acid-filled glass jar, hanging directly in front of them. Fail to grab the key within 60 seconds and the trap activates. The mechanical arms on the victim's back will violently spread outwards like wings, savagely ripping the victim's ribcage apart, leading to a horrifying death. Now, don't give me that look, or John for that matter. I know what you're gonna say. This trap is rigged to fail. Of course it is. Our lovely Amanda made it. Sometimes it's like Amanda and Matt are in fierce competition to check who fucks up Kramer's legacy harder. I swear. Verdict? Inescapable because Amanda has no chill. Number 5, the Shotgun Carousel. Okay, so the first time I heard the name Shotgun Carousel, my brain conjured up a chaotic scene like the one in Silent Hill. Okay, except with guns poking out of the horses. But Jigsaw's take on the trap is a tad more horrifying as always. 6 people strapped to a rusty merry-go-round with a shotgun aimed at them. This trap is featured in Saw 6. It's tested on William Easton, a health insurance executive with a complex formula that denied people in dire need of medical coverage and treatment costs. He would often justify his denial with spurious reasons. How the trap works is ingenious. It's like an elaborate take on the trolley problem. 6 people are chained to the grab bars of a kid's merry-go-round. Once the game begins, the carousel goes round and round until it comes to a stop, causing one of the victims to sit directly in front of the barrel of a mounted shotgun. To survive, the test subjects rely on the help of a seventh person, which in this scenario is William Easton. The 6 people are his co-workers, standing on a pedestal outside the enclosure in a small cage-like box with 2 buttons inside. Every time the carousel stops spinning, the 7th person has to press both buttons simultaneously in order to save the victim in front of the shotgun, upon which the victim's hand would be pierced by a metal spike. In return, the shotgun goes into an upright position and shoots above the other person's head without harming them, before returning to its original position. Through this, only 2 people can be saved while the other 4 have to die. A brilliant analysis of this trap was done by Mr. Draconator, who analyzes the ethics of this trap. So I highly suggest you go check it out after you finish watching this video. So based on the given evidence, it would be a fair assumption to make that the trap is inescapable. Your survival on this depends solely on the case you make with number 7, your executioner, and your luck. On the RSaw Reddit, there is a theory which states that the Shotgun Carousel is escapable, and user Daniel Dice 2 cleverly likens the work of the trap to William's own policy, which landed him in hot water in the first place. The verdict? Impossible. Number 6, the rack. Coming up on number 6 is my least favorite trap in the series, not just because it is a certified death sentence, but also because this one actually made me take a break from the movies for a while. Okay, let's do a little trivia before getting into the trap. If you look up the history of the rack itself, it was used as a medieval torture device. While we're not sure which civilization it originated from, the earliest accounts of its usage have been found in Greece, where they used it on an arsonist who tried to burn down the Temple of Artemis, which was sort of a big deal because it was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. According to the LSD, and I quote, "The Duke of Exeter's daughter is a torture device that was used in the Tower of London. It was named after the Duke of Exeter, who introduced it to England. The device was used to torture people to get them to confess to crimes. It was not a legal practice in England, but was used as an engine of state in the reign of Queen Elizabeth. The device is actually still in the Tower of London today." Okay, back to the trap. So the rack is a large, elaborate contraption designed to slowly twist and dismember a person's limbs and eventually their head. The unfortunate test subject here is Timothy Young, a drunk driver who killed Jeff's son.
My name is Jeff.
Not this Jeff, sorry.
I'm taking you home, okay?
This one. Once the trap is active, the gears and machinery slowly begin to rotate the victim's limbs, twisting them outwards, breaking bones and tearing muscles, ultimately leading to a complete dismemberment and a broken neck. Fun! Escape from this trap isn't dependent on the one in the trap, rather the one standing witness, which in this case was Jeff. In order to stop the rack, Jeff had to get the key, and the key was located in a transparent case attached to the shotgun. In the process of getting the key, Jeff would trigger the shotgun. Then he would have to quickly dodge the blast. Jeff does, actually. The blast does claim its victim, Judge Halden, who happened to be in the way. I want to believe the rack is escapable because John himself designed it and made it. But prior to this, we are shown a scene where Hoffman is seen tinkering with a trap without John's input. They actually get into a slight row over it, with Amanda jumping in to give her 2 cents. Even in the later films, we're not given any confirmation on whether the trap is escapable or not. So based on this given evidence, the verdict is escapability rated extremely low, unless your idea of escape is becoming a modern art sculpture. And this wraps up our video. I know we barely scratched the surface because the franchise boasts over a whopping 70+ traps, but these are the ones we know and love because of the mark they left on us. What traps do you think are easy or impossible to escape from? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time.